Hi, I'm talking about how kids cope with challenges. And in chapter 9 of Parent Magic, in fact, it's on page 179, I do dedicate a whole section of the book to this, how kids cope with challenges. Because being a child isn't easy. Things that we find stressful, they might find much easier to manage, but generally, things that we don't find stressful can be quite stressful for children. And of course, the front section of my book deals a lot with change and how changes are stressful for children. But have you ever considered that children are actually less verbal than us? So they don't easily speak about feelings, even if you have a close relationship with them. I also talk about them being less insightful in terms of the cause of the problem. Now, because the frontal lobe areas of the brain are not as well developed in childhood yet, this reasoning, logic, and executive functioning area of the brain means that it's not naturally that easy to make decisions and problem solve logically the way that adults do. So a child who's under stress can often make bad conclusions about what's going on and illogical statements and even behaviors, of course. Another thing is that they have less resources than we do. Without the emotional intelligence or tools to let out feelings, children don't really know what to make of all this troubled sensation inside of them. And sometimes they don't know who to turn to, and they haven't yet learned coping strategies. When this happens, the unconscious will start to take over in trying to cope with the child's inner conflict or turmoil. So what do I mean by that? I talk in the book about things like avoiding feelings, becoming withdrawn, escaping into fantasy, or even becoming perfectionistic. So when a behavior is really surfacing and the feelings underneath and the needs are really that the child is troubled, it's going to surface as behavior. Left unnoticed, this behavior becomes a pattern, which inevitably could become a coping mechanism and even a personality trait. So in general, the longer the child is distressed without us noticing, and the more intense the distressing incident, the more it's going to show up in the behavior. So their behavior is really your map. Watch them closely. I also talk about two main categories of how the unconscious tries to cope: turning in or acting out. Children that turn in are going to express things more inwardly. They're going to become more tearful, more clingy, more anxious. Whereas acting out, that category is more the rebellion, the defiance, the hurting of others, showing their pain outwardly. So yes, children cope really differently to us, and their behavior is our clue. Watch closely.